Hi, my name is Amy, and I've been dealing a lot with physical tics, also known as motor tics, due to my Asperger's. And I went online and I looked and I couldn't really find any other Aspies talking about their tics, so I figured, well, I think I'm going to have to make a video about that to let people in on the secret world of ticking and Asperger's. So I have vocal tics, which are also called phonic or verbal tics. And with me, mostly it involves a lot of air and lips. No, more like different things like that. And my son, who has Asperger's, is more into animal noises, for lack of a better word. And he makes hissing sounds, sounds like a snake a lot. And then there's times when he, best way to describe it would be, he sounds like a pterodactyl. It's kind of a high-pitched, dinosaur-like noise. And that's his verbal tic. Physically, I am besieged with a variety of what I call small and large tics. My autism tics follow a specific pattern. The more emotional or stressed that I am, the bigger the tics and the more often, more severe that they are, and the more rapid they become. Most of the time, especially when I'm engaged in conversation or in a place with a lot of people, the first thing that will happen is my hands will clench and the muscles will all tighten up, and I'll do a lot of just like that. And that's really nice because I can do that in my pockets, and I do that so often it's ridiculous, but that's the first sign that I'm getting too stressed out, is my hands are clenched in my pockets. And that's usually step one. And there's a progressive pattern that my tics will follow as my stress level builds. It basically starts in my hands and works its way up. So first I do the clenching back and forth. And then I start splaying and unsplaying, just like that. That I can also do in my pockets. And then, the good Aspie that I am, I start searching for patterns. I'll either drum on a table or a chair, and then I'll start searching for patterns. 1, 2, 3, counting is one of them. And then I'll just find rhythms that work for me at different times. Sometimes they're fast and sometimes they're slower. But yeah, the rhythms are very calming, and finding patterns helps to calm my erratic Aspie mind at times, especially when I'm stressed out. So I try and find a pattern to anchor me in and bring me down. So that's one of the things that I typically do. Repetition always calms anxiety, whether it's small tics or large tics. And the large tics, or gross motor tics, gross just means large, not, like disgusting. Nothing disgusting about my tics. These are the ones that outsiders can see from like across the room because they're big. They are obvious and involve a lot of muscles. Pacing is a favorite activity of mine, but it's not just like pacing, running around. I usually like to pace in patterns: 2 steps, 1 step, 2 steps, 1 step, or 1, 2, 3, 4. There's always a pattern to them, and it's almost like a rocking motion. That's one of my other favorite things, is rocking. Whether I'm sitting or whether I'm standing, I will rock back and forth. So when I start getting stressed out, I pace or I rock. Those are the two big ones that people can see. Like when I'm standing in line at the grocery store and I'm trapped between those aisles and you can't escape and there's nothing you can do. That's my favorite thing to do, is stick my hands in my pocket, clench my fist, and I pace, usually rock from side to side. And that's what I'll do. And it actually doesn't look too ridiculous, I think, to outsiders at the grocery store, because everybody's kind of involved and lost in their own little world. So that's what I usually often do. Yeah, rocking. My tics are external indicators of my emotional and mental state. It's kind of like my hand tics are like little barometers. Like when I notice that I'm clenching my fists, that's my signal that, geez, I'm not feeling that great. This is an uncomfortable situation. And then so when I start rocking, or when I start the tapping, then I'm like, I really need to find a way to get out of here. So they just kind of tell me, you know, where I'm at and on the inside. And when the tics are really bad, when I'm really stressed out, I can kind of suppress them. But I know one time I was at my doctor's office and I was just all over the place, and so I sat on my hands, and then I started doing this all the time because it just was so bad that you know, if I try and suppress the small tics, they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I've learned to try and either hold the small tics as long as I can, or the other thing I do is, especially if I'm in a social situation that's very uncomfortable and I'm very embarrassed and don't feel good about, I'll suppress the tics, and then I'll like go to the restroom and I go into like the handicap stall because it's bigger, and then I do these. I spaz out. I just dance and I flap, and I just I let it all hang out, and I just de-stress that way. And you know, it can work for short bits of time, you know, depending on my stress level. Oh, that's another one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites actually, is I'm a clothes puller. I didn't realize that was what it was called, but I'm very big on clothes, and that's another stress reliever. I've done I've done this a lot before, and especially when my hands, you know, start going up to my hair, you can tell when I'm stressed out. To me it's so obvious, but I'm learning to recognize my signals for, oh my gosh, I'm becoming way too stressed here and this is uncomfortable. So I have a lot of different tics that I do, but yeah, going to the bathroom, that's one of my fun ones. I'll also say I have to go outside and get something from the car, and I go outside and I just like pace really rapidly just to expend some of that pent-up energy. And then if I'm at an event where I just can't do that, and I'm in the car on the way home and I can't do that, I'll come home and I'll just, you know, usually I start doing laps. I usually come home and I walk laps around the block until and then I do this as I'm walking, or I just spaz out and I just try and release as much of that pent-up muscular tension and energy that I have. So that's kind of where I'm at, and that's, you know, I think a pretty good description of my tics and how I deal with them. So yeah, my tics are involuntary. They're related to emotion and stress. The bigger the tics, the more that's going on inside, and that's my way of adapting and coping with something that you know, can be quite challenging at times. Sometimes I'm embarrassed about it, and sometimes I figure, you know, whatever. Everybody has their own thing. So what can people do when they have a friend or someone they know who's ticking? The best thing to do, I'm doing this on purpose, doing the hair thing, is to just ignore it, because trust me, that Aspie friend of yours already knows they're ticking and they're acting different. The last thing you need to do is to call attention to it. That just makes it worse, and it just makes the embarrassment, you know, grow something fierce. So just ignore the tics and just keep as normal of a conversation going as you can. That's probably the best thing to do. And sometimes I like my tics and sometimes I don't. This probably sounds weird, but my tics are kind of like a part of me, and there's times when they're gone for days on end. Most of the time I have them almost every day, but sometimes when they're gone for a few days, it's like I miss them. I don't know, somehow they make me real. I don't know if maybe it helps me to be in my body more since I dissociate, leave my body on a regular basis. I don't know, but I don't know, it's kind of like they're old friends, because I've had them as long as I can remember. And it's kind of like family, and like every, you know, family member. You know, sometimes you like them and sometimes they get on your nerves and you still got to deal with them. So I just deal with them. But I hope this is a informative, easy video that helps you understand about tics and Asperger's. Thank you for watching. Bye now.